Hello and welcome. And today's date comes in that of Wednesday, I think it is, or Thursday. No, it's Thursday, the second day of January 2020. My name is Derek, and this is the Money Charts channel, where, like always, all bets, trades, and of the like within each's own risk and their own reward. Going to go over the Bitcoin charts and then follow through a little bit within fantasy hockey. So therefore, let's start off within BTC. This high lower than the previous, lower. Well, I guess we can call that lower. I'm not even going to draw a line yet because the highs and lows are known after the fact. And we still haven't even had any move above this 18 average, at least anything that's able to sustain itself after getting above it, since this last failed breakout that occurred. That came from a failed breakdown. You had this breakdown in here. Intraday, like within the day, the price shot up from like 73 and change up to noticeably north of 10,000. And since then, after coming down in here, has had no real attempt in getting things back going on a bullish level. There was a time when it got above the 18 average of highs on December 4th, but not for that much and definitely not for that long. Then a little bit here, but ultimately resisting the highs December 7th through the 9th. And then barely getting above in here. But in here, this was an attempt here. This is, you can say, is a failed breakout, and maybe having our fast move lower today. For today's session is a breakdown below the 18 average of lows. Just because it gets above or below, it doesn't mean it's going to succeed. As we see, this was the case doing this, and this is a polar opposite of it right now. But it's a statement that it's looking to we'll have another leg lower. Previous support is this level here. Whether it acts as support or not, I don't think it would be that great of support. And the status of the 6,300, as I've been talking about, really 6,000-ish, even piercing below as well, seems to be in line. And, well, again, in today's session, breaking down below the lows. Via that of the single hour, there is the declines. And now it's changed because now, after all of this type of trend, well, all these support lines pretty much broke within the action that took place more recently. Within here, we can see all of these lower highs in here. Definition of trend: lower highs, lower lows, higher highs, higher lows for uptrend, downtrend, of course, in the case of lower. That of a downtrend. It was 11 o'clock a.m. session today when the price was unable to hold this short term or any of this support in here, and most certainly a concise move. And I don't think this was any news of the Fed saying anything because, well, primarily it doesn't trade on that kind of stuff. Of course, because of what the Fed does and other central bankers is a big reason why people not only have probably got getting into Bitcoin, but why it was even invented in the first place. So 11:47 a.m. is when the price action had a move of a high of 71, a low of 7,020, or about a 1% intra-minute move. And then for about a dozen or so minutes, it just stabilized within it. And then over a 3-4 minute period of time from 12 o'clock to 12:03, the price fell from 7,050 down to 6,950, about a 1.3% decline. And since then has maintained a sideways move. There's a little bit of support in here. The support has been more prevalent here, which means now that we've established this and this, I'd be looking for this as next support. Any down moves higher. But in this turn, this level of resistance, it's now we're having lower highs in here. Definitely not a bullish sign, but of course it's been the established level that it has had, and when you have any rallies up to here, it'd be a little difficult for me to trust them at this point. It does seem as if cryptos are going to be headed down towards that mark of about 6,000. Let's go on to the longer term time frame, starting with the yearly term, and not much history in it. No, still gonna be many years before the 18-year average will come into play. But in 2019, price was up 94%, or up 3,475. The year before, it was down 73. Year before that in 2017, it was up 1,300%. And you know, when you're talking about 1,300%, just say 14.3x, I would think. 124% or 2.2x. Year before that, 34% up the year before that, 56% down, which is more than 2x down that year before. And then before that, we'll just say 55 times higher. Before that, 3 times higher almost. This year right now, it is down 3%. But this year is only 2 days so far. On the monthly chart, from the last up move up to ending 2017, price went into the stabilization of this correctionary move, established a level of support below it, and didn't resist within the band and then got above it. Now we've seen over the last few periods, this 18, which was barely declining here, is now barely rising, trying to find some sort of direction. If it just chops up and down back like this, it's just going to be choppy action in neutral. We've been establishing resistance now twice hit between 13,000 and 19,000. We've established support once hit at around the 3,500 area. And this thing's either going to make it or not. So if it's going to make it, well, let's throw that aside. If it's going to not make it, it's 100% chance that Bitcoin is going to come and fall down to 4,000. And most certainly it's going to fall to 6,000. If it's going to make it, the chances it falls to 6,000, well, it might be greater than 50% right now, given it only needs to fall 1,000 points or so, or $1,000. But just because it falls down there doesn't mean it's not going to go higher. Just because it fell down here to $200 didn't mean, obviously it went higher after. It's a correctionary move. How deep could the correction go before you say that, oh my goodness, there's no chance of it ever surviving? We came from 1,078. And when I look at charts, basically, if it were to do something like this, those are the type of movements that do make sense. So if this thing is going to go to nothing, what has to happen before it goes to nothing is that it goes to 1,000. If this thing goes to large figures, up to close to or beyond 6 figures, over 100,000, it could go down to 1,000 beforehand, and it might not. It could go down to 3,500 or whatever ballpark area in there before it goes up. But then maybe not. But if it goes to 1,000, it's definitely going to go to 3,500 before then. And if it goes down towards here, game over. But if it goes way up top, we're talking game on, game over. Not game over for game over for Bitcoin. Game on for Bitcoin. Game over, most likely, for that of fiat. These are all the situations that we live in within our current times. All right, then that will be it for the Bitcoin analysis. So those whom are going to be tuning out, thank you for watching this video. And I'm going to transition this into fantasy hockey. As on October the 1st, 2019, I wouldn't even consider the fact that I could take down a fantasy hockey game as well as I have. On October the 7th, October the 8th, it was theory. That I think, you know what, I think I could do it. And it was test run. And the test succeeded. I'm doing test runs on soccer and it's failing right now. I'm just hoping that the big championships like Euro Cups and FIFAs and Major League Soccer in North America don't fail. But hockey most certainly has not. It's been a major good success so far. And for myself, that does mean it's really a change in direction as far as how things are moving forward. And for something like this, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency trading, ratio trading, doing just anyone I think can do it. So I'm part of anyone. And I'm just going to keep just looking every day, once, twice a day at the crypto prices, seeing if anything needs to be done for whatever trades, any type of related stuff towards the cryptos. And that's why I'm not going to stop making these videos. At least I don't have any plan on doing such. But it does mean the amount that I put into it, the time and effort that I put into these, most certainly won't be as high. So all these extra little special features and stuff that I've been putting out are most certainly not as likely. And just these regular type of videos where I put in like charts for gold, silver, Bitcoins and stuff like this, I don't see stopping. And so far, through almost 7,000 paid lineups on the DraftKings site, the profits are near 40% of my target of 10,000, or around $4,000. As I've recently had two good 1K victories, once on December the 23rd and once on January the 1st, spanning 2 different decades. And amongst these gains, though, it's pretty good. It's pretty easy for myself to be able to continue to do these kinds of gains that I expected from the start I was going to do. I just didn't think it would be ROI-wise as high as it could be. This is a very large sample size of games, only going to get larger. But when I even look at my ROI percentage and look for it, I got a couple other things I'm going to show as well. One more chart. But this is my running ROI, 70%, 60, 58, and then as it stands right now, with $4,296 in wagers, I've gotten back $8,222 for a net profit of $3,926 US. Which means now it looks, I guess, in about 15 months, I'll be paying Uncle Sam in the United States. I've never ever paid income tax in the United States side of view because, well, I've never lived there. I've been there for maybe 9 hours over the past several years and decades. That was to play poker. But when I was playing poker before, I never was ever in the States other than for 8 or 9 hours. Now this chart in here represents how often I finish in a particular spot in these tournaments. And how this is represented is the first line represents I beat one of 400 people, or in a 400 player game I would have finished in the top 1, 4,000 player game top 10. And these are only for games that have 800 people or more. And what it shows with this curvature going down, then we can see it goes sideways and starts to barely turn up. It's doing exactly what I thought it would do, but a lot better than I was hoping, as far as in that I'm winning way more than I should. Now, there's about 5,800 or so lineups that are played in this total sum, and this is the amount of times, the 40 area, that I have finished in the top one of it works to 250 or 400 people, or 0.0025. As far as, so therefore, the average person, when I take the amount of fields, and there's 400 different spots, from 1%, 2%, basically a quarter percent of 1%, a half a percent, 3/4, 1%, 1.25%, top part of that field. It's 14 and almost 15 is where the average person should finish in each one of these spots. So I've been overproducing very well at the top end of the field. I've had several victories, well more than the average of chance should portray. And then I try not to finish in the middle too much because that's where my strategy is, and to actually lose a little bit more. And then I finish in the middle, and it works out so well that way. When I look at just the early parts in here, this is, so I've won like 40 times here, then 43 here, 23 here, and then 46 times I finished in this field, 44, 45 here. And again, 14 is that level, which comes down to row number like 34, which is like 8.5%. So all the best payouts are in here, and I'm just basically crushing it on that level. And I even make statistics. I just thought of an idea before. This sample size will start to get larger and larger as time goes on. I'm going to download the single dollar game every time, where each day you're allowed to play anywhere between 17 to 20 entries per day, and take everybody's results. And what I have in here is, well, the username, AG47 is the name in which I play on, games played, and over the past 9 tournaments, 9 hockey days, I have played 171, which is the maximum. My net score, which I have created, is 215. Anything in positive is good, anything in negative is bad. And the higher the positive, the better. And then score for 100 games. This is just the best one because this is what I'm going to use as my leaderboard, because not only do I want to win that 5-figure score, but I also want to win my own game that I'm making. And the score is represented on these finishes here. So top 0.2%. So that means in one of every 500 people, I'm finishing. So 5,000 field tournament, you're finishing in the top 10. Top 1%. Top 5%. And top 20%. As well as the bottom. How often I finish in the middle, top, and the bottom. And when I came into strategy, I'm thinking, because when you want to work things that work together. If this happens, then what's going to work within it? And then if that happens, you should get more points that way. And then if it doesn't, then you're going to lose more that way. So I want to win and lose more often. And as a child, they always told you to be a very good winner or loser. I'm just putting this in a different way. So by doing statistics like this overall, to me, when you can do mathematical edges like this, that just should give you the edge. But in 171 games, I have finished in the top 0.2% of the field twice. This number here is what the law of average should tell you should do, which is merely 0.1 or 1 over 200 multiply 171. The top 1%, that's 1% of 171. That's 5% of 171 is 855, and 20% is 34. So mathematically, if an average person there's going to be 34 times, you should finish in the top 20% in this. But I've done it 55, which is more than normal. I finished in the top 5% 18 times, which is about twice the amount better than twice the normal rate. The top 1%, I haven't got at least they've been good when they happen. Haven't happened as often, but I've had 2 wins since then, so that is very good within it. And in the bottom area, I have finished 4 times at the very bottom, when the average person is 1.71. 20 times in the bottom 5%, more than twice as average, and here as well. So middle 60%, average person is going to hit that 60% of the time. I'm at 40. Top percent is supposed to be 20. I'm doing 32. And the bottom sum, and you'd want that to be higher as it is. Now I want to win this game. There's a couple people on here that are doing better than me, or at least have a better score divided by 100 games with at least enough games to count. So get a little bit of fun stuff as I look at it. And the first one is a gentleman named Puck Pilot. If you're watching this, which should be no chance, I'm trying to beat you this year. And your score is damn good. You got a 285.4 per 100 games, which is very, very good. 3 times finishing in the top here, which is higher than normal. 8 amazing finishes here, better than double here. And then these stats online. I kind of wonder, because there's a couple mistakes. Only one mistake I think you really make. And I don't even know if it is much of a mistake. Time will tell if I'm right or not. But this is what I love about it. If I'm wrong, I'm going to improve my game moving forward. And then finally, score of 173 for Shrine USC. I really haven't followed you too much, but starting today I will. The one thing I do find concerning is your bottom sum score is a little too low. But your score is better than mine. I got the 3rd highest score, you got the 2nd. Again, if you're watching this video, good luck moving forward. And it does work out that doing fantasy hockey will put in several hours per day to get to the levels that I really want to get at. And that's not even just doing like the work I did today to come up with the I came up with both of the spreadsheets. One which did the happy face smile which is this one here. And then the data one. Well, I've done that. I've had that for a few days, but I just added the score today. But whether it be poker, sports gambling, or whichever it is that you can find an edge to be an advantaged player, you have to do things to give yourself that advantage. Now, as far as National Football League this weekend, I will give a quick little interesting way that I look at the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. So let's get started. And the systems that I like to use for the first round of the playoffs has 3 plays in it this weekend. I think the average is 1.5 to 2 per year. And that is to play the quarterback who has actually played a playoff game against the quarterback who has not, or the rookie quarterback. 5 guys, five of the 12 remaining starting quarterbacks have never played a playoff game. 3 of them play this weekend. 2 of them have the week off. The Buffalo Bills go to Houston to take on the Houston Texans. Allen has never played a playoff game for Buffalo. Deshaun Watson played his first in a losing cause last week. If you get bored sometime, go ahead and take a look at any historic NFL quarterback and look at their first playoff game. How do you do? It ain't good. Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill, the veteran, playing his first ever playoff game up against Tom Brady. And I checked the records. He has had playoff game experience before. And I mean, I'm being sarcastic. I did not check the records. I mean, I know this all in my head. In fact, I know in his head what his first game was like in the playoffs. He didn't win it. No, he tied. Because the Patriots won by 3 as a 3-point favorite against the Oakland Raiders. That was the tuck rule. That was his first ever playoff game. So even the great Tom Brady didn't cover the spread in his first ever playoff game. Although, when it comes to it, throwing that part aside, I'm a fan of the Tennessee Titans, not caring about that. Plus the 5. It most certainly isn't my favorite play of the week. And it's actually going to be on Sunday in the NFC game. Which one? One of them. Minnesota. We have Kirk Cousins, who he's getting a plethora, a decent amount of experience lately against Drew Brees. So, well, obviously that's the one game that doesn't have a rookie quarterback. Seattle goes to Philadelphia to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm going to even have to go over some information that one of my guys that I'd like to watch and listen to, Teddy Covers from Las Vegas, has talked about as well. But before we get to that, it's another one of those spots. Carson Wentz has never played a playoff game. Nick Foles, the Philly special, was a guy, he's the one that did it that year. Against Russell Wilson, who has won and lost a Super Bowl in his career. And to me, I think this is a very, 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 very strong play. Philadelphia's only a 1.5 point favorite. Seattle's only a 1.5 point favorite. Really? Why? The way I look at it is, we have a Seattle team who's playing a quarterback who's never played. Okay, more than that. We also have Teddy Covers mentioning that when you take the strength of schedule, the main scale, whatever it is, there's 32 teams in the league. So 1 to 32. When you take a team that has had a schedule 10 times greater, 10 rankings better, tougher than their opponent, that team has covered 70% of the wildcard games, which is a very decent number. Seattle, out of 32 teams, had the toughest strength of schedule, ranked number 1. And Philadelphia had the 32nd toughest of 32 teams. And, well, Philadelphia played the Eastern Division in the AFC, which were teams like Miami and the Jets, as well as Buffalo Patriots. And they played their own division, which were all bad. Which is why their division was tough. In Seattle, their division was just amazing. But then it goes even further than that. When you look at the rosters, who's going to catch the ball for Philadelphia? Zach Ertz. I don't even know if he's going to play. I mean, and even if he does, it's the only guy they got. And if they don't have him, they have nobody that's really any good. Everyone's on injury for Philadelphia. One of the key Seattle defenders is back from injury or is going to play. I can't remember his name offhand. If I wasn't dominating the hockey game like I have been, if I haven't had such a very weird luck history betting on professional sports in traditional format, I'd be making a very, very large decision. I haven't even seen what the free pick is. Let me just check it for the first time. Under the Total by Will Rogers. Free pick here. Ricky Tran, New Orleans. And Teddy Covers actually sometimes does give the free picks in here as well. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.